Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you're watching What If Naruto Inherited the Legacy of the Shredder. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
There will be a small age difference because they will graduate from the academy at 14 instead of 12. After being attacked and left for dead by villagers and a few ninja from his home village of Konoha, 6-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was lying in a pool of his own blood in the Forest of Death. The young boy's body was slowly approached by a figure that picked him up and then vanished. When Naruto woke up, he discovered that he was in a sort of tunnel. He looked around, seeing torches on the wall and old furniture, and he asked himself, "Where am I and how did I get here?" He stood up slowly, flinching in agony as he noticed that his chest was bandaged. He said, "Hello," realizing that someone had to have applied the bandage. As Naruto looked, he saw a figure sitting at a small table wearing a robe, covering himself, and drinking something. But he was unable to identify the person. An elderly voice said, "Hello, young one." "Who are you?" asked Naruto. The figure replied, "Who am I? Now that is an interesting question. First tell me, why were you in such bad shape when I found you?" "I was attacked by some stupid villagers and I don't know why they kept screaming demon and making me pay," Naruto said, his eyes darkening. The figure gestured with his covered arm toward the seat across from him and said, "I see to think humanity shows such cruelness to their own even in this day and age. Come, join me for some tea." As he approached slowly, Naruto sat down and inquired, "Where are we and who are you?" "My name is not important, young Naruto, but this is my home," the figure uttered. Naruto inquired, "How do you know my name?" As the figure chuckled, it remarked, "It was written on your cloths when I bandaged you." Naruto accepted the teacup and sipped it, saying, "Oh." Naruto attempted to look at the figure, but his face was obscured by the cloak's hood, making it impossible for him to see. "Tell me, Naruto, what do you plan for your life?" Naruto looked up and said, "I want to be Hokage just like Gigi, so that way people will quit attacking me and giving me those hateful looks and respect me." "Hokage, huh? So you wish to be a ninja," the figure said. Naruto looks at the figure and says, "I am a ninja, not like those people in the village you come from who has those flashy jutsu, but a true ninja, trained in the ancient arts of deception and stealth, a true silent assassin." Naruto inquired, "What do you mean?" The figure stated, "I mean that what you call a ninja in this day and age is nothing more than a common thug compared to what a true ninja is. In my days my brothers and I were masters of the shadows. Legends that struck fear into the heart of our enemies and brought hope to those who were being hurt by those who would harm them. Just the mention of our name was enough to make the bad guys run scared." Naruto replied, "Then you famous like the yellow flash or something?" The person laughed and replied, "Something like that. You see, my story goes to another time and place where science and technology was the mainstream of the world and where a pizza could be delivered in 30 minutes or less." Naruto blinked and uttered the word, "Huh." The character chuckled and replied, "Perhaps I should tell you my story, for you can call me master, and this is the story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and their fight against the evil Shredder and the Foot Clan." A few hours later, after a long day at work, Sandaime Hokage was heading home late at night when he was passing an ally. A voice said, "Pardon me, Hokage-sama, but may I have a word with you?" This caused the third to pause and turn around. He glances at the ally, where a shadow of a person is visible, and the third approaches the ally slowly after surveying the area and stealthily drawing a kunai from his robes. When he was a few feet away, he inquired, "What is it?" The ally's figure stated, "I have information on someone who calls you Gigi." His eyes widened, and he opened his mouth to speak, but the figure said, "He is safe. I rescued him after some villagers and ninja attacked him and left him for dead." After looking around, the third person asked, "Where is he?" The individual replied, "He is in my home resting at the moment. If you would like to see him, you will have to follow me alone." "Why?" the third person asked. The figure replied, "Because I do not trust your people. I mean, the boy had 3 broke ribs, several kunai and shuriken wounds and severe bruising when I found him." "I assume you're not from this village," the third person said. "That's an understatement. Now if you would like to see him, then follow me. If not, then you will never find him." The figure snorted and said as it turned, took a step, and fell into a sewer drain, causing the third blink. As footsteps were heard leading away, a voice said, "Come on if you want to see him, because I won't wait for you." The third person scowled, stepped down into the sewer, and started to follow the figure. After about 20 minutes, the third approached an old wooden door that was open and illuminated by torchlight. He entered and saw Naruto dozing on a couch. The figure then proceeded to place a teapot on a small fire, and the third went over to check on Naruto. "I gave him some herbs to make him sleep until morning since he's still injured, to give him time to recover. He heals increasingly fast," the figure said. Frowning, the third said, "That he does. Now who are you?" When the figure heard the tea whistle, he removed it from the fire and said, "Join me for some tea and we can talk all you would like." The third poured himself some tea, waited for the figure to take a sip, and then said, "You can call me Raphael." The third replied, "Very well, Raphael, now would you mind telling me what is it you want?" Raphael replied, "The boy talks very highly of you, in fact he wants to be just like you when he gets older." As he drank more tea, the third person said, "Yes, he's told me this on several occasions." Raphael replied, "The boy's father never meant for his life to be this way." The third became more rigid and Raphael replied, "Relax, I owe Minato my life after my brothers and I first arrived here many years ago and I would never do anything to betray the debt I owe him." The third person questioned, "What do you mean?" Raphael let out a sigh and said, "Please do not freak out when I remove my cloak, it will make things easier to explain if you can see proof." The third watched as Raphael took off his cloak and went wide-eyed and Raphael said, "You see, my brothers and I were originally normal pet turtles until an accident with a chemical known as the ooze changed us to what you see me now. My master Splinter, who was originally a pet rat of an ancient master of the ninja arts, learned the true ancient arts of being a ninja from his cage, and then after he met with the ooze he also changed into a humanoid rat. He then trained my brothers and I and we went out and saved the world from the man who murdered Splinter's master and his clan. During our many battles with Shredder and the Foot Clan, an ancient artifact that allowed a person to travel through time was discovered. Shredder was able to use it to travel to this timeline here around, I would say, 10 years ago, and my brothers and I followed him here. We fought him in what you know as the Forest of Death, and after the battle my brothers were all three dead, as was the Shredder. I was wounded and would have died, but Minato and a woman named Kushina came across the scene of our battle and they saved my life. My brothers' bodies were buried where they fell and the Shredder's body was destroyed, but I have his armor over there." And the third looked where he was pointing and saw the armor. Raphael continued, "Now as I was saying, after that I returned to my own time to be with my friends, but I have returned several times to be close to my brothers. In fact, I was paying my respect to them when I came across the body of Naruto in the woods and brought him here, having realized who he really was by just looking at him." The third individual replied, "What is it you are getting at, because I can tell you did not just bring me here to hear all this." Raphael replied, "You are wise as they said, but what I wanted to ask was, would you allow me to train the boy in the true art of a ninja? I do not know your ways of chakra, but I am a master of stealth, hand-to-hand combat, weapons, and discipline. I don't know why he is hated here, but no child should have to live with this unless he be destroyed by it. I can take him away from the hate at least until he is strong enough to take care of himself." "You wish to take him back to your time, don't you?" the third said with a frown. Nodding, Raphael remarked, "Yes, there I can train him as I was trained, so that way he can be a true ninja." The third person asked, "And what of the need to use chakra? You said it yourself that you do not know how to use it." According to Raphael, "I may not, but I do know someone who can." The third person questioned, "And who would that be?" According to Raphael, "A girl named Rin who was a student of Minato." The third eyed Raphael and replied, "She had discovered me one time when I was here visiting my brothers, and she asked to leave this place because of the painful memories I accepted after she told Minato, and he approved it, and so she lives in my timeline now." When he heard whimpering, the third person said, "I see." He then turned to face Naruto, who was trembling, and both of them heard whispers, "Please stop, don't hurt me, I'm no demon." The third person looked down and asked himself, what has this village done to him? He asked, "How long will he be gone?" After looking up, Raphael replied, "It will depend on him, I would say no more than 10 years though." "When do you plan to leave?" asked the third. According to Raphael, tomorrow. The third replied, "Very well. He may go with you, but I want to see him off and also allow me to gather some scrolls and books to help him in his studies. Rin's been gone for a long time now and she may have forgotten some things." Raphael replied, "Very well, I shall take you back to where we arrived and you can meet me in the manhole tomorrow at dark and we will leave then." When Naruto woke up the following day, he discovered that his sensei had already woken up and that he had smelled something that had never watered his mouth before. "What is that, master?" he asked, getting up to examine the object on the table. With a laugh, Raph handed Naruto a slice of pizza and said, "Let me introduce you to the wonders of pizza. Dig in." When they had finished their meal, which had taken 20 minutes, Raph said, "Now Naruto, I have spoken with the Hokage after you fell asleep last night and I have asked him for permission to train you to be a ninja." With wide eyes, Naruto exclaimed, "Really, master?" Raph smiles and continues, "He agreed to let me take you on a training trip in my own time, so this evening we will be leaving the village to learn the ways of the ninja, but don't worry, you will be allowed to return." When Naruto heard that, he stopped speaking and asked, "So what will you be teaching me, sensei?" Raph replied, "Many things, but amongst them is patience. For now I want you to begin your training. I want you to do 10 sit-ups, 10 push-ups with both arms, 10 push-ups with each arm, 10 jumping jacks, 10 standing kick with each leg, and run 10 laps around the circle I drawed on the floor. After that you will rest for 10 minutes and begin again. You are not to speak at all during your training because you need to learn to be silent in order to learn stealth, and I am going to listen, and if you make too much noise I will add 1 to all of your exercises without increasing your rest time. If you speak at all until I tell you it's okay to speak, then that is automatically 1 added. Do you understand? After Naruto nodded, Raph said, "Good, begin." When Raph brought the Sandaime back to Naruto that night while he was running laps, Naruto exclaimed, "Gigi." Says Raph. "That's another one, Naruto." The Sandaime arched an eyebrow as Naruto bit his lip and continued running. Raph then described the exercise and the concept of the penalty, and the Sandaime asked, "So how many is he up to?" Raph commented, "That's the surprising thing. He's only up to 20 of each counting the one I just added, and he's been doing it pretty much all day besides when he helped me make lunch and his short allowed breaks." "That's very good Naruto-kun. Can he stop because I would like to talk to him?" the Sandaime said, nodding. "All right, Naruto, you can stop," Raph said. "Thank Kami," Naruto uttered. "My feet were hurting like hell." The Sandaime responded, "So Naruto, Raphael told me he has explained to you about you leaving on a training trip with him. Is this true?" With a beaming expression, Naruto replied, "Yes, I can't wait because when I get back I'll be strong enough to take that hat from you, Gigi." Sarutobi chuckled as he said, "Well, you must be planning to train very hard then, but I look forward to your return. I have this scroll here for you with several things inside it, and all you have to do is put some chakra in the seal to make them come out. But don't worry, I'm told someone will be there to help you learn to use your chakra. So are you sure you want to do this, Naruto?" When Naruto nods, Sarutobi gives him a hug and says, "Very well, I wish you good luck on your journey and a safe and quick return, Naruto." Naruto responded, "Are we going to leave now, sensei, or are we waiting or what?" Raph chuckled and replied, "Yes, I suppose we can leave now. Is there anything you wish to bring with you or someone you wish to say bye to?" Naruto was thinking and saying, "Besides Gigi, the only ones who's ever been nice to me were the people at the ramen stand, but they don't have time for me because of all their other customers that often, so I guess no." "Very well, then let me grab the scepter then." He proceeded to the armor or shredder, removed the helmet, and pulled out a piece of fishing string that was tied to it, revealing a 3-foot-long, bamboo and gold scepter. This is what we came to call the time scepter. Originally it took one person from the future and put them in the past while taking a person from the past and putting them in the future. Fortunately, one of my family's many adventures gave us the opportunity to meet the person who created this scepter, and he changed it to allow a person to go without taking someone. Now Naruto, if you would please take that scroll and the one on the table you saw me working on earlier. Good, now grab the scepter and hold on. After grabbing the glowing scepter, Naruto turned to face Raph, who stepped back and uttered the words, "But what about Yo?" before vanishing along with the scepter. When he saw Naruto vanish, the Sandaime's eyes widened before he could say anything. Raph collapsed to his knees and started coughing, causing blood to fly from his mouth, stopping the Sandaime. After he stopped coughing, the Sandaime questioned, "Are you okay? What happened? Where's Naruto? Why are you still here?" Raph continued to cough and stated, "I kept my word, Hokage-sama, and Naruto is now going to the future to be trained by me and Rin. But it is the me of my past when I was younger and my brothers and master were still alive. When I came here this time I was coming for my final trip to visit my brothers so that I may be buried beside them. You may not can tell it, but I am nearly as old as you are and my injuries from past battles have finally caught up with me. I have now repaid my department to Minato and Kushina by giving their son a chance at a better life. If you would, there is a map on the bottom of the table over there. It shows the location of my brothers' graves. Would you honor me a humble request and bury me there with them and keep this place a secret, because when Naruto returns this all belongs to him now and will be where you will return to." Goodbye. When he collapsed. After looking for any signs of life, the Sandaime closed Raph's eyes and said, "You may not have been human, but you had more honor than most for helping Naruto. I will honor your final request." Alongside Naruto, when Naruto felt the ground shift beneath him while he was holding onto the scepter, he found himself in another sewer. A short while later, he discovered multiple weapons aimed at him. He then turned to face 4 turtles and said, "Master Raphael." The turtles turned to face Raph and asked, "Master?" Naruto turned and said, I don't know what's going on, but are you Mikey, Donnie, Leo, and Master Splinter?" As an older voice said, "It appears that you took up the art of teaching my son. Please stand down, all of you." As he moved forward, Splinter remarked, "Yes, we are young, but the question should be, who are you?" Naruto replied, "I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I have one question. How are you all alive when Master Raphael told me you three died in the final battle against the Shredder and you died of old age, Master Splinter? Where, or should I ask, when are you from? Asked Splinter. According to Naruto, I am from Konoha in the year 4X. Splinter responded, I see you have a couple of scrolls with you and I recognize my son's handwriting. May I see that scroll? Perhaps it will explain things. With a nod, Naruto gives Splinter the scroll, which he opens and reads. Splinter, Master Kushina and Minato are the parents of this boy because his father sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune inside of him. His village views him as a monster, however. The boy is unaware of this or his parents, and it is best to keep this information from him until he is mentally prepared to understand. After the villagers attacked him, I discovered him close to death. If I had more time, I would have done this myself, but as Donnie would say, I am on the verge of becoming one with the Force. Since he has 10 years before he must return, I beg you to teach him how to be a true ninja. Additionally, the Sandaime Hokage is sending a scroll to help Rin teach him how to use chakra. Please fulfill my last request. Father, I'm at a loss for what else to say or ask of you. Raphael, after shutting the scroll and putting it in his robes, Splinter turned to face Naruto and inquired, what has Raphael taught you so far? Naruto grinned and lightly licked his lips as he remarked, since we just recently met, he just had me doing basic exercises so far of jumping jacks, sit-ups, push-ups, and laps. He did teach me how to make a pizza though. Splinter nodded his head and said, you will fit in well here with my son's turtles. We have been asked to teach young Naruto here in the true art of being a ninja. I have agreed to do so. Will you help me? Leo replied, of course we will, sensei, but may we ask why we were asked to and not the Raph from whenever he was from? Splinter glanced at them and replied, when I feel you should know I will tell you then. Now Leo, please contact April and inform her that we will be coming to stay with her at her family farm soon for an extended stay. The rest of you begin packing. And Naruto, may I have the scepter? Naruto glanced at it and responded, yes Master Splinter, sensei told me that I could trust you all. If I ever met you I would have freaked out if he wouldn't have told me you were a rat though. Splinter chuckled and replied, I can imagine. For now just rest young one, we have much to do and you need all your strength for the challenges ahead. As he approached and took a seat in a corner away from everyone, Naruto said, yes Master Splinter. The turtles looked at one another and Splinter, who was observing Naruto, and each of them had a similar thought. Okay, something's wrong if he thinks he has to stay in the corner away from everyone. But as he started to prepare, Splinter thought, his mind will take even longer to fix than his body. No, Mom, Dad. When 16-year-old Naruto awoke and looked around, he discovered that he was in a warehouse office. He wiped the perspiration from his face, turned to sit on a couch, shook his head, and said, just a dream, just a bad dream. The TV across the room was audible to Naruto. The city-wide hunt for the vigilante Shredder is still ongoing. How long will this search go on, and who will be the next to be caught in his clutches? Criminals, Naruto thought as he shut off the television. I gave them all the deaths they deserved. The police are furious that I have reduced crime in the city by 60% in the past 2 years and that they are losing business as a result of their inability to perform their duties. As he approached the table, Naruto lifted the lid of one of the pizza box stacks and scowled, thinking, damn, guess I'll have to get some while I'm out tonight. He was distracted by the clinging sound of something metal hitting the warehouse floor, and then he was nowhere to be seen. So are you going to kill me, Naruto, or are you the Shredder now? A tense figure asked as she passed through the warehouse, feeling a blade at her neck. What are you doing here, Rin? Was said after the blade was taken out of the figure's neck. I came to talk to you. I don't want to see the rest of my family die. You've become like a little brother to me over the years before, said Rin, 30, as she turned to face Naruto, who was dressed in black pants and a black shirt. Naruto let out a growl. Don't say it. April and Casey were the closest things to a mother and father I ever had, and I was going to ask Shadow to be my wife. She had took on training to be a ninja and go back with me, but she was killed by those bastards along with her parents, all because of fucking crime boss didn't like April investigating his business. If it wasn't for the fucking fox I would have died in the explosion as well, as he let loose some ki. Rin looked at him and said, I know that, Naruto, damn it. April and Casey took me in when I came to this time and treated me like I was their sister, and Shadow was my goddaughter. I miss them all, and I know how much it hurt you to see their killer get off because of a dirty cop and a paid-off judge, but you have done avenged them. You went out and destroyed the guy's entire cartel, and now you have moved on to others and have become the most wanted man in the state, if not the country. How many more must die before your quest for revenge is filled? How many more nights do I have to watch the TV and hope that you have eluded the cops, military, and the criminals? When are you going to stop this and start living again? I can't live again because my life has been destroyed. Rin, I have nothing here, Naruto said, turning away from her. With her eyes closed, Rin questioned, "And what about me and the turtles?" Naruto looked at him and said, "The turtles have turned their back on me when I used what they taught me to avenge my family." "And me?" Rin inquired before turning away. Naruto gave her a quick glance and remarked, "You should go, Rin, the cops could be here any minute." "Here, if you can't start a life here, then live the life you and Shadow dreamed about." "Live for her," Rin said, reaching for her bag. When he saw her draw the time scepter, Naruto snorted and remarked, "So you ask me to do the same thing that Kakashi guy you told me about did?" Rin responded, "No, I want you to actually live and not live in the past. If you stay here, then both your parents' dreams will never come true. Minato Sensei and Kushina would want for you the same thing Casey, April, and Shadow would have wanted. You are all that is left in this world of them. Show the world who and what you truly are. You are Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, last student of Master Splinter and the Turtles, and it is up to you to pass on their teachings. I have taught you all I know as well as what the Sandaime sent with you as a child, and you have surpassed all expectations. You claimed that you never go back on your word. That was one of the things Shadow loved about you, Naruto, and you gave your word that you would go back to Konoha to be a ninja. It was yours and Shadow's dream. Are you going to let it die?" Rin sighed as she placed the scepter on a crate and turned to leave, while Naruto scowled and gazed at the scepter. "If you won't do it for anyone else, then do it for yourself. Here you have no future besides death. Please don't make me watch as the last person I consider family dies for me, please." As he watched her go, Naruto asked himself, "But can I have a life there, and who should I be?" After hearing an explosion and hearing multiple voices, Naruto leapt onto a stack of crates and watched as a SWAT team entered the warehouse with their weapons ready. He turned to see Rin lying on the ground with a wound to her head and a SWAT team member standing over her. He heard the officer inform him, "She's alive but needs to get to a hospital or she won't make it." With a scowl, Naruto leapt from the crate he was on, dropped the SWAT member away from Rin, then picked her up and silenced her. The following day, while observing Rin's hospital room from the roof across from the hospital, Naruto sensed Splinter's approach. He turned to see Splinter cross the street to Rin's room and inquire, "How is she?" Speaking quietly, Naruto remarked, She will live, but the doctor said she has had trauma to her head and most likely amnesia." "What will you do now, my son?" asked Splinter. "I am no one's son. Your son died with his family. I am the Shredder," Naruto said, closing his eyes and turning away from the hospital's view, before starting to leave. Splinter had a long moment and said, "When you first came here, you were a scared and lonely boy who did not have anyone in the world. You gained a family and a life that you lived happily until it was taken from you. My sons still consider you a brother, which is why they never came after you for all the deaths that you have committed in your quest for revenge, and I see you as much of a son as I see them. You are my legacy as much as they are, and you are their legacy as well." Rin came to me before she came to you and asked for the time scepter. I agreed to give it to her because I believe that just as you came before us all those years ago, that if you went to your own time that you could gain a family, friends, and happiness. His eyes turned from blue to red as Naruto turned to face him. He was covered in smoke, and the Shredder's armor covered his body. He said, "Your sons were smart enough not to mess with me because I would have dined on turtle soup. I didn't need ooze to become a freak. I had a father and a village to turn me into a monster. You asked me once why I took the name of the Shredder. It's because I have fangs and claws to tear all who go against me to shreds." As Splinter watched Naruto vanish into a whirlpool of foliage, he pondered, "May you find peace someday, my son. Stupid cops, I attack them and flee and they never suspect I would return here," Naruto thought as he crept inside the warehouse after reappearing on the roof. He entered the office covertly, went to the safe, opened it, and took out a picture. As he saw Casey, April, Shadow, and himself in a family photo, he began to cry and asked himself, "What should I do?" He turned as he heard a trigger being pulled back behind him and saw a police officer pointing a gun at Naruto, who said, "Well, do it already," as he came to terms with the fact that he was going to die. With Naruto still wearing the Shredder outfit, the officer said, "They wouldn't have wanted you to die like this, kid. Leave and never return to this city, kid." With a blink, Naruto uttered, "What?" The cop stated, "April and Casey. I know who you are, kid, and I know why you have done what all you have done. We met before. I was one of the officer who was guarding you in the hospital when you were recovering from the explosion. You've done more than enough. It's time for you to leave and live your life for them. No one knows who you are behind that outfit but me, and if you leave I will take the secret with me to the grave. I'll watch over the woman you took to the hospital and protect her for you, but I want you to disappear into the shadows forever, something you're good at." Naruto replied, "Why are you doing this? Shouldn't you be arresting me?" The officer replied, "Because I've been in your shoes, kid. I know what you're going through and I know how the road you're going down ends. Now go." After giving him a quick glance, Naruto said, "Can I have your name? I want to make sure I pay back the debt if we ever cross paths again." "Castle, Frank Castle," said the policeman. Naruto nods, and the officer leaves the office. He waited until he was certain the officer was gone, then packed some items in a scroll and left. On his way out, he noticed the time scepter where Rin had left it, remembered her final words, and said, "For you, Rin." He picked it up and vanished a short while later. A man changed out of his police uniform and put on a white skull shirt and leather jacket outside the warehouse in a van with a skull license plate. He said, "Don't make the same mistake I have, kid, you still have a life, live it," as he turned on the van and drove off. When Naruto first appeared in a sewer, he took a moment to realize where he was and thought, "This is Raph Sensei place." He noticed the shredder armor in the corner and placed the time scepter inside the armor, just like he had seen Raph do years earlier. After that, Naruto sat down and thought, what now? Strange, footprints in the dust, and those aren't men. Recent, maybe last week or so, several others near the door, but all the same foot shape, showing whoever it is came here frequently lately but never came in much. Who would it be? Then he thought, Gigi, I guess that's as good a place as any. He got up, covered in smoke, and the armor went into some seals he had drawn on his body. Rin may not have known much about seals, but she knew how to make exploding tags and storage seals and blood seals, something she claims she learned from my birth father. Before bouncing off the two walls using chakra to stick only long enough to make his next jump and landing on the roof of one of the buildings, Naruto quickly discovered a manhole leading up. He climbed the steps, made sure no one was watching, and closed the manhole. Before he climbed out, he started to look around and thought, it's so different, the air is cleaner, less noise, not as many people, so much nature, it's beautiful. Hey, I scream copyright infractions. Someone imitating Mount Rushmore. He laughed lightly to himself. He exits the roof, lands lightly on the ground, and starts to move into the street, where people are going about their daily lives. After observing the village for approximately an hour, Naruto entered the Uchiha district and noticed a number of Uchiha strolling around. One of them approached him and asked, "Who are you and why are you here?" Naruto asked, "Is this where the police are?" After noticing the Sharingan in the man's eyes and thinking, that matches Rin's description of the Sharingan, meaning this guy is a Uchiha. Uchiha are the police here, if I remember her lessons right. With a startled expression, the Uchiha quickly covered it up and said, "Yes, it is now. Please answer my question. Who are you and why are you here?" Naruto responded, Naru Nami is my name. I'm new to Konoha. I don't know if it is the same here as it is in my country, but I thought that if I could speak with the chief of police or whatever it is you call the head of the police force here, then perhaps he or she could help me with a few things, like what kind of trouble should I look out for in a village like this, and what are the laws of your village, as well as seeing if I might be able to do some freelance work for the police force here like I've done in the past, helping deal with criminals. Smiled and said, "Yeah, 6 feet under. I doubt you will find the answers you are looking for here, but you can speak with the clan head. Follow me," the Uchiha said with a frown as he started to leave. After following him for a few minutes, Naruto arrived at a house that was marginally bigger than the others in the neighborhood. This was significant because the majority of the houses in the neighborhood were 2 stories, but this one was only 1. When the Uchiha knocked on the door, it opened a few seconds later, and a woman with black eyes and bluish black hair answered, "Yes, may I assist you?" The Uchiha replied, "Sorry for the interruption, Makoto-sama, but this gentleman was wishing to speak with your husband. Is he available?" Makoto looked at Naruto and responded, "He's not here at the moment, he's at the shrine with the elders. If you would go and inform him, I would be honored to serve our guest some refreshments until he arrives, if that is all right with you." He said, "Naru Nami, miss, and it would be an honor to have a lovely hostess like you to cater to me until your husband arrives. I will do my best to be gracious guest," with a brief bow. As she stepped aside to make room for Naruto, Makoto remarked, "You sure seem to have great manners, Mr. Nami. Please come on in and have a seat." Makoto shut the door after Naruto entered, activated her Sharingan for a brief moment while Naruto was facing her, then deactivated it and then went into the kitchen, saying, "Go ahead and have a seat on the couch, I'll get us some refreshments." After a few minutes, she emerged carrying a tray with 3 glasses, a small bucket filled with ice, and a pitcher filled with water and ice. She said, "So what business do you have with my husband Uzumaki-san?" after pouring 2 glasses of water. When Naruto heard her, he took a sip of water and coughed, saying, "Pardon me, but I believe you have me confused with someone else." Makoto responded, "No, I don't think so. You have makeup covering your whiskers which makes them impossible to see. Your hair is cut different to where it is only as long as my fingernails, and you're a lot older than you should be somehow, so that would fool anyone else had it not been for the simple fact that I know certain things about you myself that no one else does, since I helped take care of you when you were a baby. You are Naruto Uzumaki. Suppose you're right and I am who you say I am, then how old should I be?" Naruto said, frowning and staring at her for a few moments. Makoto said, You should be 9 going on 10 soon, not 16. If I had to guess, I know it isn't a genjutsu because I checked, so I only have one option to believe, and that is that you really are that old somehow. Naruto took a step back and thought. So I'm 7 years off. Stupid scepter thing does years and sevens, didn't find out until I tried to go back in time to save Shadow and the others. He replied. I see, and what do you plan to do with that knowledge? Makoto replied. Well, if you're willing to tell me your story since you disappeared 2 years ago, I would keep what you told me a secret. As he disappeared in a cloud of smoke, Naruto scowled, searching for any indications of dishonesty, and uttered. Fine, but not here. There's an ally near the Shinko supply store. You want to hear my story, then come there in about an hour and come alone until then though. As she picked up the tray and the glasses and carried them to the kitchen, Makoto thought. Interesting. She then changed into a cleaner dress and was leaving the room when Fujiku approached and asked, where is our guest? Makoto appeared perplexed and replied. He left probably 20 minutes ago. I was just on my way to the market to get some food for supper tonight. Is there anything special you would want? In an icy tone, Fujiku stated, no, fix what you want because I won't be home for supper tonight. As she walked away, Makoto said, very well. When she saw Itachi approaching the gates as she was leaving, she said, oh Itachi dear, please try to watch out for your father. He's in a foul mood today and I don't want to see you fighting again. Given how anxious she appeared, Itachi blinked and inquired, where are you going, mother? After glancing to the left and right, Makoto muttered, Naruto-kun's back. I'm going to meet him and find out where he's been. Please inform the Sandaime. Biting his lip, Itachi said, in fact mother, don't come home tonight. His eyes widened a little, and he added, I think it would be best if you informed him after your meeting with Naruto-kun. Makoto lowered her eyes and gazed at her son for a moment before saying, oh, has it come to that then? I see, Itachi, please spare your brother a mother's request for her children, she said without saying anything. I will honor your request, mother, if you will honor mine, Itachi said, glancing at the Uchiha district. Makoto nodded and leaned over to give him a cheek kiss before leaving, saying, goodbye my son, no matter what happens I will always love you, I'm proud of you, and I forgive you. As he made his way to the Uchiha district, Itachi shed a tear and thought, goodbye mother. Makoto was shocked to see the ally empty when she got there, but then she heard metal gliding across concrete, saw a sewer cover being slid across to open it, and saw a hand extending to signal for her to approach. Makoto scowled as he approached and noticed Naruto inside, who motioned for him to come and put a finger to his lips to remain silent. After looking around, Makoto started to descend and followed Naruto for a short while until they reached Raph's house, where she asked, is this where you live? Naruto walked over and poured some tea, saying, this is where my sensei lived before he sent me to be trained by his family. So where have you been, Naruto? Makoto asked as she approached, sat down, and drank the tea. As he sipped his tea, Naruto snorted and remarked, that's $1 million question, but before I answer, why don't you tell me what's wrong? After choking a little on her tea, Makoto questioned, what do you mean? Naruto was saying, your voice is steady and your face is neutral, but your eyes keep glancing toward the door like you were either worried about something or want to be somewhere else, and your body is twitching where you keep stopping yourself from acting on what you're thinking. You have been doing that for the last 7 blocks before you got to the ally. Makoto murmured, your observation skills are nearly as good as a Hyuga, and if you were able to know that all those blocks without me knowing means your stealth skills are impressive as well. Naruto replied, so quit trying to flatter me and tell me what's wrong. I have no real reason to trust you besides a feeling since I personally don't know you. Makoto looked at his tea and said, for some time now things between my clan and the village has been getting strained. Recently my husband and the elders of our clan have been having a lot of meetings to discuss what should happen to fix these problems. My eldest son Itachi the Sandaime has had him acting as a spy for the village, spying on our clan to find out what is going on to try and stop things from getting out of hand. The only ones who know this are the Sandaime, the village elders, Itachi and myself. Itachi, when I was coming here I talked with him a moment, and from what he said I believe that a choice has been made to save the village, and if I am right then right now my son is preparing to kill the rest of our clan. With a frown, Naruto questioned, do they deserve it? Naruto questioned, do the members of your clan deserve death for what they are doing in your eyes? Are there any that are innocent? As Makoto looked up in shock. Makoto tilted his head and said, as far as I know only my 2 sons. I should be dying with them because I should have tried harder to stop my husband before it got to this point. Naruto appeared behind Makoto before she could move, struck a pressure point on her neck, knocked her unconscious, and then vanished in a cloud of smoke. Itachi heard a shout coming from the street while he was in his room putting on his armor. Kappa, Oni. Monster. When Itachi felt someone enter his room, He blinked and looked out his window to see 4 humanoid turtles attacking and killing the Uchiha clan. He then grabbed his sword and asked, "Who are you and why are you here?" as he saw a man in silver armor with red eyes standing in front of him. The individual stated, "I am the Shredder and I have come to spare you of the mission you are supposed to do. You, your mother, and brother will be spared, and when people ask who it was that killed your clan, tell them 4 Oni Kappa attacked and killed your clan and you along with a stranger in armor were able to defeat them. Deliver this scroll to the Sandaime and he will take care of the rest," while raising the scroll. Itachi activated his Sharingan and uttered the words, "I can't do that." Itachi attempted to cut at the Shredder with his sword, but was stopped by the gauntlet on his arm, which had a bow staff appear in his hand and knocked the sword upwards before the staff slammed into Itachi's ribs as he attempted to regain control of his sword. "Then you are a fool who must pay for your ignorance," Shredder said, throwing a smoke bomb on the ground. Shredder appeared behind Itachi, who was unable to see through the smoke bomb as he felt his ribs take a hit. Itachi blocked another blow to his ribs when Shredder leapt back and raised his hand as 4 puffs of smoke appeared, accompanied by 4 men in black robes with purple feet stamped on their heads. Shredder then yelled, "Foot soldiers, attack!" While the 4 turtles continued to attack the other Uchiha, the 4 foot soldiers withdrew either a pair of swords, a pair of sei, a staff, or a pair of nunchucks and attacked Itachi. As he attempted to block and defend with his Sharingan against the combined attackers, Itachi thought, "What the hell is going on? These are cage bunchins and should have gone up with a single hit, but they're not." The foot soldier with the swords moved forward and blocked Itachi's sword up front as the ones with the nunchucks struck Itachi's hands, shattering multiple bones, and the sei entered each of his shoulders. Itachi was caught off guard when his foot fell through a tile on the roof. As the staff removed Itachi's left kneecap, he screamed in agony, fell to the roof, and glared at the Shredder before gritting his teeth and asking, "Why?" The Shredder turned to Itachi and said, "To save your mother and brother from feeling the same pain I have had to feel. Your duty now is to them. I have ended your shinobi career by taking out your knee, shoulders, and hands. Even with medical attention you will still feel the effects of this fight for the rest of your life. I have taken one burden from you and given you another. This scroll will make sure the dishonor your clan had will never be known, as the 4 Kappas have taken the burden with them to the grave. You do not know anything about me, but my name is the Shredder and I came here to stop the 4 Kappas. That is all you know of me officially. Do you understand?" As he examined the 4 turtles with his Sharingan, Itachi remarked, "And why should I not tell everyone that you were the one who attacked my clan and released those more cage bunchins?" As he vanished in a cloud of smoke, leaving behind only a scroll, Shredder said, "Because I stopped your mother's tears goodbye." The 4 foot soldiers and turtles dispersed, searching for anyone who might be hiding. Makoto was still unconscious when Naruto returned to the sewer and said, "Goodbye." He then took out the time scepter, turned a tiny dial, and vanished. Before leaving the sewer, Naruto put the scepter back in the armor in the corner and thought, "Well, let's see when I am." When he blinked, he discovered that Makoto was gone and that there was a lot of dust on the ground. "The village has gotten bigger since the last time I saw it, but the mountain still only has 4 faces, so maybe the Sandaime is still in office. I wonder how things are with the Uchihas now." He thought as he blinked and looked around the building he had been on before returning to the roof. He then jumped back into the alley below and started to walk through the village. Naruto arrived in the Uchiha district 20 minutes later. He blinked at the dilapidated appearance of the area and thought, "That's strange. I only killed the people with Sharingans in their eyes because I didn't want to kill anyone who wasn't a Uchiha. There should be some people here, but I'm not feeling anyone." He then started to look around. After a few minutes, he became tense when 4 figures wearing animal masks and black cloaks appeared. One of them exclaimed, "Halt! Who are you and what are you doing here?" Naruto replied, "My name is Nami and I was looking for an old family friend who once lived here named Makoto Uchiha. Is she still here or has she moved elsewhere?" with an angry tone. A member of the Anbu inquired, "What business do you have with Uchiha-sama?" Naruto stated, "She took care of me when I was a child and before I left Konoha we shared drinks on several occasions, and since I just got back to town I was hoping to see if she was interested in having tea." "Why are you wearing makeup?" inquired a different Anbu. When he pulled back the sleeve of his shirt, Naruto's smiling face turned neutral and he said, "My fiancée and her family were killed a few years back in an explosion, which I was also caught in. My face is scared, so I wear makeup to hide the scaring. Here is proof if you need it." This shocked the Anbu, and one of them asked, "Why is your skin 2 different color tones?" Naruto replied, "Skin grafts, like I said. I was caught into the explosion also, so the doctors took skin from people who donated their bodies when they died for medical research and gave me the skin grafts. They said it could take up to 5 years for the grafts to be replaced with my own skin. Now, if you don't mind, I don't like talking about and remembering being burned alive, so if you don't mind, could you tell me where I could find Makoto-sama?" Wearing a dragon mask, the first Anbu stated, she's currently in a council meeting. Is the Sandaime Hokage still in office or has he stepped down? Asked Naruto, blinking. He's still in office. Why? Dragon asked. Naruto laughed and replied, well, if Makoto is in the council chamber and the Hokage is there as well, then I should go there to see them, since the Sandaime ordered for me to come see him once I return to Konoha. I'm not sure where to find him, so if you guys don't mind, could you either point me in the right direction or take me to see him? After glancing at the other Anbu and nodding his head, Dragon approached Naruto, put his hand on his shoulder, and vanished into a whirlpool of leaves. The Anbu said, please wait here, as he approached and knocked on the double doors in front of the hallway where they appeared. After a short while, someone said, come in. Pardon me, Hokage-sama, but I found a young man walking in the Uchiha district who said he was looking for Uchiha Makoto-sama and that you also ordered him to come see you when he returned to Konoha, the Anbu said, opening the door and sticking his head inside. Who is this man? The Sandaime asked, looking curious. According to the Anbu, he claims his name is Naru Nami. Does he have blonde hair and blue eyes? Makoto asked, her eyes widening. After the Anbu nod, Makoto remarked, so he's back, where is he? The Sandaime inquired, who is he? Uchiha-san? Everyone in the room was shocked to see a figure rise up behind the Sandaime when a voice behind him said, long time no see Sandaime-sama. Makoto gave a little gasp and thought, he hasn't aged a day. Naruto said, Rin-sensei sends her regards. The Sandaime swiftly turned around and looked at the individual. The Sandaime said, I am afraid I am drawing a, with a bewildered expression. Naruto intervened and stated, Rin Inuzuka, you sent me to be trained by her after my parents' deaths. Thanks. During the Kyuubi attack, Raph sensei took me to her in a distant land's ring. Any bells, or are you still reading Jiraiya books and have your mind in the sewers? When the Sandaime's eyes widened, Naruto remarked, now you remember me, I see. My name is Naru Nami. It's a pleasure to meet you again after so many years, Hokage-sama, as well as you, Makoto-sama. How was it that you got into this room and behind the Sandaime so quickly when the Anbu had the only entrance to the room blocked with his body? An older male voice asked after Makoto nodded. You know, there are only a few things in this world I can't stand, but the one that I mostly kill fall in the same category as you. You might want to fix your bandages before I decide. This room needs a new coat of paint in blood red. By the way, Genjutsu doesn't work on me, Naruto said in a neutral voice while unleashing some ki after glancing over at the speaker. How dare, Danzo snapped, and before he could say anything more, 4 black-clad figures with purple footprints on their headdresses appeared in a circle around him, each with a sword crossed around his neck. Startling everyone in the room, the Sandaime then asked, who are you and what are you doing? Many people in the room went wide-eyed when Naruto said, they are the foot soldiers, Sandaime-sama. But the question everyone in this room should be asking is, what is that man doing with a Sharingan? Makoto screamed, what? Another council member appeared in the midst of the blades, and Danzo vanished in a puff of smoke. What shocked everyone even more, though, was that Danzo screamed in agony as a figure in silver armor appeared behind him, sending him flying into the chakra-covered wall. As he opened his eyes, the armored figure yelled, Rasengan foot soldiers, capture him. His blood-red eyes startled a number of people. Quickly, the 4 black-clad figures bound Danzo, who had fainted from the agony. After quickly recovering from his shock, the Sandaime turned his attention from Naruto to the 4 people who had bound Danzo to the armored figure and said, explain. After a moment of staring at him and then Makoto, Naruto blinked and said, first, I have a simple question to ask, and then I will explain everything. Agreed. Very well, said the Sandaime. Naruto inquired, what happened the day the Uchiha clan was attacked? Someone asked, what are you, stupid? Uchiha Itachi and killed every member of the Uchiha clan except for his mother and brother before he fled the village. After scowling, Naruto uttered, all of the Uchihas including those without Sharingans. According to Makoto, unfortunately yes. Why? Naruto replied, because I don't see how your son would have been able to attack the Uchiha who didn't have the Sharingan when he had his left kneecap busted, a pair of dislocated shoulders and 2 broke hands. After all, the Uchiha who had the Sharingan were killed by someone else that day. Along with how that guy has the Sharingan. In fact, Itachi was on the ground next to the scroll I left for you, Sandaime-sama. That should have explained everything about why I didn't come see you that day, along with some other things, and Itachi was going to give it to you. Hiyashi responded, you're saying that someone else killed the Uchiha clan? Who? Naruto turned to him and said, they're dead. I took their bodies after Itachi and I killed them to the Forest of Death and destroyed their bodies there to keep the secrets that were inside of them from being discovered. They were targeting only Uchiha with the Sharingan in their eyes though. Hamaru responded, And how can we be sure that you are even telling the truth? Naruto pointed to the man the foot soldiers were protecting, ignoring the shocked expressions on everyone's faces. Simple, because when I arrived Itachi thought I was with the ones who were attacking and attacked me, and I was sort of the one who broke his kneecap, hands, and shoulders to stop him from attacking me and then defended him against the last of the ones who attacked his clan since the rest had been killed by other Uchiha or him anyway. Who is he exactly? Makoto replied, his name is Danzo and he runs a group of black ops called Root. Did you really do that to Itachi? Naruto looked at him and said, hey, I didn't have a choice. Sandaime-sama, I'm not sure if I am right, but if this guy has the Sharingan then it's possible that he hired the group that Itachi and I killed that day so he could steal the Uchiha bloodline for himself without getting caught, and it's also possible that he had this root Makoto-sama spoke about to kill the rest of the Uchiha after I left and used his mother and brother to blackmail Itachi into taking the blame. I'm not sure if I'm right, but I do know that there was no way Itachi could have attacked and killed anyone with the injuries he had without a lot of medical attention after I took the ones who attacked his clan away. One of the foot soldiers lifted the bandages and showed everyone the Sharingan eye underneath them, and the Sandaime scowled as he looked at Danzo, who was on the ground, and said, that is if he does have the Sharingan. I haven't seen any proof of. Well, I guess he does. Makoto yelled, Sandaime-sama, on behalf of my clan I must insist that Danzo be interrogated and killed for breaking the laws of Konoha by stealing my clan's bloodline as well as possible being the mastermind behind my clan's massacre. I also insist that my son Itachi's status in the bingo book be changed to where he must be captured alive if possible, but if he is unable to be captured to let him flee until we find out the truth about what happened. If he was being blackmailed as recent information present, then his leaving the village was not of his choosing but one to protect the surviving members of the Uchiha clan as well as Konoha. When he looked back and saw Danzo gone, the Sandaime sighed and said, does anyone object in light of this new information? Seeing as none object, I will notify our allies and have him relabeled after we have Danzo interrogated. Where is Danzo? Naruto replied, currently 3 blocks east of here going into an underground entrance. What? Criminals always run to where they think they are safe when they are exposed and about to be captured. I knew he would, so I have some of the foot following him to his hideout so I can find this route Makoto mentioned. Kaharu replied, Sarutobi, what is this young man after and what is he planning? Why not ask me yourself? Snorted Naruto. Very well Naruto, what are you planning? Said Sarutobi. There was a murmur in the room when Hamaru said, Naruto, as in Uzumaki Naruto. Shredder crossed his arms, and everyone heard the words, ha. Ha 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 ha. As Naruto and the foot soldiers vanished in a puff of smoke, shocking everyone. Shredder then said, very clever elder in trying to turn the people in this room against me, but I am afraid that your idea has failed because of several things. I don't have the Kyuubi in me or a seal holding at sea. He was covered in smoke, and as he appeared as Naruto, he started to remove his shirt, causing everyone in the room to gasp in surprise at the discolored skin all over his body. What happened to you, Naruto? Asked the Sandaime. When the smoke cleared, almost everyone in the room, including Makoto and the Sandaime, was prepared to throw up because they all had foot soldiers in front and behind them, each with a pair of blades forming a box around their necks. Naruto then declared, I trust that I have everyone's attention, and if any one of you speak I will kill all of you. Naruto walked over and sat down in the Sandaime's desk and said, now for starters let me formally introduce myself. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze, Yandaime Hokage of Konoha and Kushina Uzumaki of Whirlpool. I am also the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Now some of you may think I am lying about being the Yandaime son, and personally I don't give a rat's ass what you believe. I'll kill you if you ever piss me off. I've already got the deaths of several hundred people on my hands, and killing criminals and corrupt politicians is my favorite pastime, and all of you little shit stains are corrupt, so I have no problem killing you if you piss me off. Smirking at the frightened expressions on everyone's replied, now to explain some things. First I will explain exactly where I have been, or should I say when I was. You see, as the Sandaime already knows, Konoha had a time traveler from another timeline hiding here in Konoha for a while, and he took me back to his original time to train me in the true art of being a ninja. Not this crap you all believe in nowadays, but the true ninja arts that was used for hundreds of years before the Six Realm sage guy you all preach about did his thing. He put his hands on his head and said, I wasn't the first to be taken from this timeline either. As I stated earlier, I was trained by Rin Inuzuka, who left Konoha with permission from my father after her clan banished her for being aborting a pregnancy when Iwa Nins raped her and her teammate Obito Uchiha died, and Hitaki Kakashi did his thing. Naruto got up and addressed Sume. You're Sume, Rin's sister. I recognize you from the pictures she had, and she asked me to tell you that you're still the runt of the litter. Bitch, her words, not mine. She also said she misses you and hopes you finally snagged that guy. Tsume was glaring at Naruto and growling when she heard the message. Naruto returned to his seat and began to speak. Truthfully, I didn't want to come back to this place since you all disregarded my father's final request and tried on several occasions to kill me. I had a good life going until 3 years ago. In the other timeline I had a fiancé who meant the world to me, and her parents treated me like I was their own son, but she wanted to be a ninja and so she trained with me, and according to Rin could have surpassed Tsunade in a few years in her skills. Her mom was a reporter and investigated a string of robberies and discovered they were being pulled off by a crime syndicate called a mafia. Makoto, Tsume, the Sandame, and a few others in the room gasped as Naruto said. The leader of the mafia decided to silence the reporter, and so he had one of his men place a bomb in a vehicle that they used for transportation that doesn't need animals but run by machines using an oil-based product called fuel. My fiancé, her parents, and I were going to go out for a birthday dinner for my fiancé when the bomb went off with us inside. Naruto sighed and said, do you know what it is like to feel your flesh being burned from your bones and also seeing the person you care for most in the world die in front of you? I do. The seal holding Kyuubi was damaged and Kyuubi made an attempt to escape me, but dear old dad did something when he sealed the furball in me that nobody knew about. He sealed part of his soul in the seal as well, causing multiple eyes to widen. Naruto smirked and said, yeah, he made it a safeguard so if the seal was ever damaged he could protect me from dying. His faith in Konoha was gone since he saw everything that happened to me in my life. Now you see, when the seal was damaged he could have fixed the seal and odds are I would have died, but he got creative during the time my body was being burned away and he used Kyuubi chakra to repair the damage to my body, just like he had been doing since the day the furball was sealed in me. That's right, all those attacks I survived, it was thanks to dad using a medical jutsu on the inside of my body being powered by Kyuubi chakra to heal me. Now even with dad's great work the damage I received from the explosion was too much and he used up all of Kyuubi chakra in my body. I had to spend 3 months in a hospital bed in what everyone assumed was a coma, but dad was actually training me in my mind to use the Rasengan, the Hiraishin, Kage Bunshin, and several other things that I have come to love. Now after 3 months his soul passed on and I awoke from my coma and found out that the guy who ordered the bombing got off completely free because of dirty politicians, paid off cops, and bribed judges. As he was covered in smoke, Naruto said, yeah, go ahead and smirk because you're fixing to find out what I did to him and what I might do to you pissants. A few people grinned at this. You see, over the next 9 months I got out of the hospital and then I began to train hard. I surpassed all my senseis and I took up the armor in name of my sensei greatest enemy. Naruto then reappeared in armor and said, the Shredder. It was covered in smoke. When Shredder noticed that some people recoiled, he said, now on the 1-year anniversary of the bombing I began my road of revenge. I started off finding one of the lowest member of his cartel and I captured him, cut off all his fingers and toes as a form of torture until he gave me the name of every member of the cartel he knew. Then I shoved my fist through his chest and took out his still beating heart and used it to write the name of the Shredder on the wall above him. This shocked everyone and made some people ill. The Shredder stated, I did that over and over again. At around 211 of them I killed this way until there was no thugs left in his cartel, and then I started on the middlemen, the hired mercenaries. I would find out where they were sleeping and then kidnap them from their homes and then torture them by breaking every bone in their body and using the medical jutsu Rin taught me to heal them and break them again over and over again until they gave me the name of the next higher up as well as any other mercenary. 120 of them died this way and I still took out their beating hearts and used them to write the name of the Shredder on the walls with their bodies. Many of the people in the room were green and displaying fear at this point. Shredder continued, and then I got up to his family. Now not every member of his family were criminals. At least up to that point they weren't. I spent 3 months framing all the innocent ones for crimes that other members of their family did and had them arrested. Of course they got bailed out, but while they were in jail their houses and all their boats, cars, and any other things of luxury they had were destroyed by bombs until they had nothing left and they blamed their family for their loss. Smart. Then we have the ones who were criminals just like the non-criminals. I had them arrested and they bailed them out, but when they got home, boom, gas leaks, got to love them. Naruto, what happened to you? Why did you turn into a monster? Asked the Sandame. Pulling out a scroll, Shredder said, monster, monster. You want to talk about a monster? What about this? According to the Sandame, what is that scroll? Shredder replied, this is the orders you gave Itachi the day of the Uchiha massacre. You see, I arrived back in Konoha that day and I met Makoto and she wanted to know why I look like I do now when I should have only been 9 years old. I agreed to meet her, but I found out that on her way to meet me at a private location she had met Itachi, who warned her not to come home that day. She told me about the tension between Konoha and the clan and I knocked her out after talking with her. I then went to the Uchiha district and snuck into the very room where Itachi was getting ready to carry out the mission you, Hamaru, Danzo, and Kaharu gave him. He had this scroll open on his dresser and I read it and stole it before he detected me. Shall I read your orders for everyone here to see that you four were the masterminds behind the Uchiha massacre? Making everyone but the Sandame scowling. Do you have any idea what you just did? Asked the Sandame. Shredder stated, I know exactly what I have done. I have told the council here why Kaharu, Hamaru, and Danzo will not live past today. As we speak, Danzo and his root are fighting and dying in his underground base. After scowling, the Sandame remarked, you won't get away with this, Naruto. Shredder continued, and who can stop me? The only reason I am not killing you is because even though you were involved, you were tricked by the other three masterminds. But I have to ask, did you know that Danzo, Kaharu and Hamaru lied to you about the Uchiha clan plans to revolt against Konoha? They were going to do something because of the blame the villagers and the council was giving them over the Kyuubi attack. They were going to leave Konoha, not attack it, causing all of the Sandames to look at him. We couldn't let that information get to our enemies, so we had to get you to agree to have Itachi spy on them for us and then falsify his order for the good of the village and later to stop them, Kaharu said after the Sandames screamed. What? Kaharu stared at him, and Hamaru looked at him. The Sandame looked at Makoto, who replied, I can't blame you, Sandame-sama, because I knew something was going on since Itachi confessed that much to me, but I didn't know what my husband and elders were planning. I tried to find out and diffuse the tension, but there was no choice. I know you also tried to save my clan as well, Naruto. Shredder replied, yes, for all of you it has been several years, but since I time traveled to today, it has only been 1 day since I actually tried to save the Uchiha clan and the village from being destroyed by a civil war when I killed the adults who had active Sharingans. I had framed Sensei brothers for the massacre in the scroll I gave Itachi so that way he would not have to kill his clan or become a missing nin, and so the village could still have the Sharingan and Itachi could have taken over for his father and make sure the same mistake wouldn't happen again. I didn't know that Danzo wanted the Sharingan though, or that they were planning to leave the village. Hamaru responded, then how did you find out what they were planning to do? Shredder replied, because while this meeting has been going on I had a couple of my foot go to several places and get my family belongings including scrolls and money from the bank. By the way, your esteemed elders and Danzo have been using a root agent at the bank to steal money from it to pay for their lifestyles, and because of me taking out my family money and only my family money, the bank is completely broke, so all of you have no money to pay your bills. Everyone's eyes widened at this point, and Kaharu responded, that's impossible, we haven't taken that much. Shredder replied, how do you think Danzo been paying for his army? Oh hey Makoto, good news. There seems to be some Uchiha still alive. My foot soldiers have found children who Danzo has been trying to brainwash or experiment on. I found several Uchiha. A couple of Hyuga, and I don't know the rest. I only recognize the Uchiha from when I killed the adults, and the Hyuga are the only ones I know with eyes like that. You, Gigi, did you know that Danzo arm had the Shodem bloodline in it, or that he had several Sharingan implanted in it? My god, Sume exclaimed, what the hell's going on? There was a flurry of leaves at that moment, and a few early teens were in the room when the council members gasped when they realized Naruto was telling the truth. They then saw Danzo's body on the ground, with a foot soldier clutching his severed arm, which had several Sharingans inside and wood protruding from it. Shredder chuckled and replied, well Gigi, I don't know about you, but I say that you have the biggest pile of shit on your lap that could be possible. You could either fling it like a monkey or you can try and deal with it since there are too many witnesses to bury it. You could try and blame me, but then that would make me an enemy, but with the clans finding out that you have betrayed their trust, they may decide to side with me. If I do become your enemy, I could also become your ally and an ally to the village. The only ones who know what has happened are my involvement in the Uchiha massacres in this room. It's time you all tried to figure out what to do. As for you both. As they all vanished into smoke, the foot soldiers surrounding Kaharu and Hamaru moved too swiftly for most to see and decapitated them. Shredder uttered the words, never make an enemy of the Shredder and the Foot Clan. A week had passed since the shit went south. As news of the events in the council chambers spread, there was a lot of fallout during that week. Itachi had to be taken out of the bingo book entirely by the Sandame Hokage. The children and teenagers discovered in the root quarters had been hospitalized, undergoing extensive testing to determine their circumstances, receiving nutritious food, and Inoichi devoted a great deal of time to attempting to repair the psychological harm they had sustained. A bloody foot on the wall above the bodies of several Hyuga clan elders who had been mysteriously killed in their beds while they slept inside the Hyuga compound revealed to Hiyashi who had killed them, especially after he found a scroll proving they were the ones who gave Danzo the Hyuga children. Sasuke had vowed to exact revenge on her, Naruto, Itachi, the Sandame, and Konoha after Makoto had told him the truth about the Uchiha massacre. Surprise, surprise. Many people in the village were shocked when word got out that Naruto Uzumaki was actually Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and that the Kyuubi that was sealed inside him had died. The shock increased when the civilians failed to recognize that the foot soldiers were actually Kage Bunshin. As a result, the majority of the village now thinks that there are many foot ninja hidden throughout the village, which frightened the local criminals and gave a sense of pride to those who were being harmed by the criminals or who believed that the foot was the village's new police force. In addition, 3 civilian council members were slain with a bloody foot on the wall above their bodies, but almost everyone in Konoha had a scroll on their kitchen table with copies of the documents proving they had committed various crimes against Konoha. Hiyashi also received a foot symbol on the bottom of the scroll. In order to try to prevent the panic of not being able to pay their bills until the bank was able to get in touch with their other branches to begin transferring currency from them to Konoha, the Sandaime was forced to seize all of Danzo, Hamaru, Kaharu, and his own clan's assets when word of the bank spread. Naturally, the Fire Lord's message upon receiving this information from the banks, followed by messages from the Sandaime and the Shredder, prompted him to reply, expressing his extreme displeasure with the actions of the Sandaime, Hamaru, Danzo, and Kaharu. Fortunately, only 3 members of his clan remained, and neither his son Asuma's assets nor the money left for him by Konohamaru's parents were affected. The Sandaime Hokage summoned the ninja and villagers to a meeting in front of the Hokage Tower today. "People of Konoha, I have called you here today to announce that I am stepping down as the Sandaime said as he stepped out onto the balcony and turned to face the crowd below. Anything else he was going to say was silenced when a huge ring of smoke appeared on every roof around the square the Hokage Tower was located in, and when it cleared, everyone saw hundreds of foot soldiers on one knee facing forward, shocking and amazing many and scaring others, with the figure of the Shredder standing tall in front of a group of foot soldiers and said, "No, you are not Hokage-sama. A true leader is only as good as the people who follow and support him." Since the Kyuubi attack, people had a fear well up inside of them from being unable to stop something like the Kitsune and seeing that one man was able to do what they couldn't. That man was the Yondaime Hokage, and many think that it was because of his personal skills in sealing or his power that made him able to defeat the Kyuubi, but the truth is he had the support of all those under him and had a belief that the next generation would be stronger than the last. He believed this so much he was willing to sacrifice his own son, me, to be able to help the next generation be stronger than his. It was the fears of being unable to stop the Kyuubi themselves and the loss of so many family members that caused the seeds of darkness and corruption to spread to many of the people of Konoha who would attack and try to kill or punish me when I was a child, as well as who conspired against you for continuing to have the will of fire that this great village was founded on when they themselves had lost it. Covered in smoke, Shredder turned and cast his red eyes down on the Konoha residents, saying, "For those of you who do not know me, I am to my enemies, the Shredder." When the smoke cleared, he stood there as his normal self and several women blushed, and Naruto said, "For those who are my friends and allies, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, former Jinchuriki or jailer of the Kyuubi no Kitsune who died inside of his prison, so that means those of you who may have feared me for the fox no longer have that fear." Now, as I was saying, the Sandaime Hokage feels guilt for all that has happened, which he should. But the guilt is not his alone, but on many others, including some of you who have conspired for your own personal gains to either gain more political power, larger wealth, and other things like this. I know aspiring to gain political power is not a crime, and trying to have a better life for yourself and your family is not a crime. But the way you go about it can often be a crime. First, I speak to you of the council after my father's death, before the Sandaime took back over. Many of you passed laws to make the council more powerful and taking political power away from the Hokage. The council is an advisory group. You do not have any power but to advise. This is a ninja village, and as such all the powers lies with the Hokage, not the council. You were established by the Sandaime so that he may hear the people of Konoha better, to be a better leader. But you have used this position to make yourself have a better life, not the people you are supposed to be representing to the Hokage. There are right now 6 less council members than they were before: Danzo, Kaharu, Hamaru, and the 3 others I have killed since then. Those 6 were the most corrupt members of the council, and they died as an example to you, and anyone else. Corruption will not be tolerated any longer in this village. Naruto turned and looked to the Sandaime and said, "In times of darkness, when crime and corruption spread, oftentimes it takes a symbol to stand tall in the darkness to bring light to the people. For years now you have been the only symbol the people have had, Hokage-sama, and those who thrive in darkness, such as the 6 I killed, tried to crush the fire you represent and tried to soak the ashes that still burn inside of you and in the heart of this great village. I have now restacked dried wood on the ashes that is the will of fire, because even after all that has happened I still believe in this village and in you, Sandaime-sama. I am a wind user, and as many of our ninja know, when you add wind to fire it makes it stronger. I am willing to use my wind to strengthen the will of fire so that it may grow brighter than ever, so that all our friends, families, and allies never have to fear the darkness again, and all our enemies will learn to fear this village, afraid of being consumed and destroyed by our greatness. But in order for this to work, we need the will of fire to use the wind to start the wood on fire again. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, and as the son of the Yondaime, I am willing to join this village and protect and support it as my father. Our ninjas and all other Hokage have since this village was founded. I am willing to lend my strength to make this village stronger. Covered in smoke once more, Naruto declared, and I am willing to become a symbol that our people, ninja, and civilians can rally behind, and a symbol our enemies will fear. I am the Shredder, leader of the Foot Clan, and I say to you now, know this: innocents take strength in knowing me and criminals quake in fear. I vow to stop the darkness by becoming the thing that goes bump in the night, the thing that scares you as children. Monsters are real, they are not born monsters, but humans who turn into monsters as the Shredder. I am a monster in the darkness to fear. Foot soldiers, salute. The Shredder was smoking and Naruto replied, so Hokage-sama, why don't you inform the people that the light has returned to Konoha and not that it's been destroyed by the darkness, and why don't you try and figure out what to do with me? I've never been a ninja of Konoha, and you don't know my skills, and I understand those of my age group are about to graduate. You either can assume my skills and make me a Chunin or Junin, or you can let me prove myself to the people and earn their respect as I use hard work to become a great ninja like many of the others who serve under you. Just so you know, my dream to someday be leader of this village is still real, but I will wait until the day I earn that right, not take it by force. By the way, look at the Hokage monument. When they saw that each Hokage's face had been painted to resemble their real-life appearance, everyone turned and gasped. Naruto then remarked, a gift for our people. Naruto, I honestly am touched by your words and actions, and I can see the people of our village are also touched by them, but the Sandaime said, blinking briefly before he was silenced by a hand touching his shoulder and another figure emerging on the balcony, leaving almost everyone in a state of shock. The figure replied, you are Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, correct? Naruto replied, yes, but who are you? I can see the people here respect you, but I don't know who you are to say you do or do not deserve respect, as people like Danzo, Kaharu and Hamaru were respected but were in fact scum, shocking both the public and the Sandaime. The figure laughed and replied, I see you take after your mother. Allow me to formally introduce myself. I am the feudal lord of the land of fire, Hoshima Sento, but to you I am something a little more than that. You see, my father had my sister marry the king of Whirlpool country to form an alliance between the land of Whirlpool and the land of fire. When Whirlpool was attacked and destroyed, my sister and her husband were killed, but their daughter was visiting me at the time. Their daughter was named Kushina Uzumaki, your mother. As the audience gasped, Naruto blinked and asked, is that so? The Sandaime responded, pardon the interruption, your lordship, but I think Naruto should know that Kaharu, Hamaru, and Danzo had informed you that Kushina and Naruto both died the day he was born, so he does not believe that you abandoned him as a child. Naruto replied, oh, I wasn't worried about that. I actually was aware of the fact I was a prince as well as the great nephew of the Fire Lord. I also know why he's most likely here. You're here to tell me that I'm your chosen successor since you were unable to have kids and you have no other family, am I right? Causing many to gasp. Sento replied, indeed you are correct, but may I ask how you know this? Naruto continued, as I told the council when I busted their balls last week, Dad sealed his soul inside of me along with the Kyuubi as an extra form of security, and during the 3 months I was in a coma recovering from being blown up, he trained me in several things, and he informed me how you gave Mom away at her wedding, as well as the fact that after she was to give birth to me she was supposed to start training to take over for you. He told me if I ever came back to the elemental country I should tell Konoha to kiss my blonde ass for the way they treated me as a child and come see you since I'm more than skilled enough to get past the guards, especially since I know about the secret passages. My message I sent you this week should have been more than enough proof that I could have gotten to you. Grinned. Sento scowled and remarked, I see that you're confident in your abilities. Naruto said, considering the fact that I was able to assassinate 2 council members in council chambers, sneak up on the Hokage in front of the entire council, attacked Danzo and over 100 Root Anbu and killed them, have completed 3 assassination inside this village with security on high alert, breaking into nearly every home in this village to leave a scroll explaining why I killed those 3, broke into the Hokage vault to retrieve my family scrolls, assassinated several Hyuga elders in their beds who were guilty of selling Hyuga children to Danzo, painting the Hokage monument in such detail without getting caught, sneaking into your palace in the daylight to deliver a message to you, broke into the jail that is on that small island surrounded by lava and scared the shit out of all the criminals in there so they would rather stay in jail than come out where I could get to them, as well as having successfully unarmed every ninja in this square during the time I was talking before you came out, causing all the ninja to check themselves and found that all their weapons were gone. Naruto smirked as he saw the shocked looks on everyone's faces and said, "It's not confidence. It's a proven fact. I was trained in the old ways of being a ninja, the kind of ninja who have been around for centuries hiding in the shadows before the Six Realms Sage guy introduced chakra to the world. In fact, I hardly ever use chakra even though I have cage-level reserves and medic nin control. What these people think of as being a ninja, I think of as being a joke. Take Hitaki Kakashi for example. At one time he was a great ninja. Graduated from the academy at age 5, Chunin at age 6, Junin at age 13. Truly a great ninja until he got that Sharingan eye from his teammate Obito. Then he became focused on flashy jutsu and using that eye to help him win his fights where he weakened his skills and abilities. I mean, look at his signature jutsu, the Chidori. From what I understand it's supposed to be an assassination jutsu, yet it sounds like a 1000 screaming birds and can be seen coming from a mile away. Ninja are not supposed to be about flashy jutsu. Ninja are supposed to be master of stealth, espionage, sabotage, infiltration, and assassination. That is what a ninja is supposed to be. Ninja are supposed to get in, complete their mission and get out undetected and without leaving a trace that they were ever there. All the skills I have used up till now has been in the form of deception because nobody knows if all the foot soldiers I have been using are just Kage Bunshin or are they really all ninja who serve under me or are they a mixture of both. Like right now, you and everyone is looking at this rooftop looking at me when in fact, he went up in smoke and a voice from on the wall behind the Sandame and the feudal lord said, "I have been behind you and the Sandame the entire time you were on the balcony," shocking everyone as they saw the wall distort to show Naruto hanging to the wall with 2 clawed hooks. Naruto replied, "Now since I know what you are here for and since I know you're most likely not going to give me a choice on the matter, why don't you just tell me what you want, great uncle?" Sento started laughing and replied, "I see I have made the right choice. You see, I had an idea you were skilled by getting into my castle like that, so I don't question your skills, but what I do question so far is if you were ready as a leader. Which is why I am giving you a test. Konoha is yours. How it is ran, what rules the people have to follow, what the future of this village is, all will be your choice. The reason the Sandame was going to step down was because you are the ruler of this village now. Lord Shredder, people of Konoha, I present to you your king, may he rule you wisely." Everyone was in disbelief, including Naruto, who turned to face Sento and questioned, "What do you mean, king?" Sento continued, "Exactly that. I give you control of Konoha until I am ready to step down, at which time you will take over the entire land of fire. To your people you are Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and to your enemies you are Lord Shredder. This village future is in your hands now. By the way, since you are the last of our family line and passing on the title of Lord falls to you, that means you must have several wives and children to ensure our country future. Good day, your lordship." As he started walking away with a chuckle. With wide eyes, Naruto turned to face the people staring at him. "Well folks, bet a lot of you can die knowing you've seen it all now, huh?" he said, thinking, "I've been outfoxed." Naruto closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and opened them to look out at the people still gathered. He thought, "What should I do? Shadow, please help me." His eyes widened as he saw Shadow among them. She nodded her head, and he smiled slightly. He then turned to face the crowd, but she was gone, and he closed his eyes, thinking, "Never again will I lose someone precious to me. I'll destroy all who try to." Naruto took a deep breath and said, "All right folks, I know most of you are wondering what I am going to do. Some of you may even be scared of me or hate me or love me. Truthfully, right now I don't care what you think of me because none of you actually know me. None of you know the pain and suffering that I have endured. None of you have seen the joy and happiness I have, and none of you know what I fight for or what I believe. So for now all of you can believe what you want about me, but it's not going to matter to me one way or another. I am going to do some things that will make you happy and some that will make you angry. I'm going to change the way this village is to make it into what I believe will be a better village that is richer, more powerful, bigger, and safer. I have bought a few things in this village and I have seen in other countries away from here where a simple way to help pay for improvements to the village is by adding a small sales tax on items. So starting tomorrow all merchants, vendors, stores, and food establishments will start adding a 10% sales tax on all purchases, meaning if you buy something for $10 today, tomorrow it will be $11 and that extra dollar along with the rest of the money collected for the sales tax will be deposited each night at the bank in an account that only I have access to." A number of murmurs erupted and Naruto unleashed ki to freeze and frighten the majority of those present. This is not negotiable, so don't act like you have a choice because you don't, and once I take over as Fire Lord I plan to make this sales tax a standard for the entire country to help finance things to help promote tourism. Here in Konoha I plan to use the money from the taxes to start 2 new academies. One that will teach children who do not wish to be ninja, and one that will become a requirement for all ninja to attend after graduating from the academy. All ninja chunin rank or higher will HVE to go to the new academy I plan to have built to learn some medical skills, where every ninja CHUNNIN or higher of the village will be qualified as a medic nin, and in order for genins to even be allowed to enter the chunin exams or be promoted they must also pass this requirement. There were murmurs and a shout of, "You can't do that." Naruto declared, "Next to the Fire Lord I am now the highest power of this land, and I have the power to turn this village from a ninja village to a regular village, or I have the power to do this." Suddenly, everyone, including the Hokage, except for the Fire Lord, who was observing from a window in the Hokage tower, had a foot soldier standing behind them, holding a knife to a person's neck. Naruto added, "I could kill you all and get away legally unless the Fire Lord decides it was wrong of me to do so, but by that time, most of you would have been dead already for a long time. Do I make my point good?" That is all I have to say for today, and I hope you all see that what I am trying to do is not change the village from the way it is to what I want, but change the village to be a better place for ninja and civilians. Goodbye. Naruto scowled as he said, glancing first at the Sandaime and then back at the populace before vanishing in a cloud of smoke. After 10 minutes, Naruto entered his sewer home and thought, "Damn it, why couldn't she have been real?" He closed his eyes and entered the room, and it was only thanks to years of training that he was able to react in time when a shuriken almost killed him. When Naruto opened his eyes, he saw a figure entirely covered in black, resembling a foot soldier except without the foot symbol. The time scepter, which was already active, was drawn out from behind the figure's back. Naruto's eyes widened, and he leapt forward to seize it just as the figure and Naruto vanished from the room. A short while later, they reappeared in the same room, where the black figure kicked Naruto in the stomach, used him as a springboard to backflip, and then vanished in smoke. As he hurried off in pursuit of the individual, Naruto scowled when he reached the surface. He noticed that it was almost dark and blinked when he saw ninja lining the village's walls. He thought, "What the hell?" As he looked down and saw people fleeing from the walls while holding objects, he then leapt from the building he was on and exclaimed, "Hey buddy, what the hell's going on?" As Naruto started to flee, the man gave him a crazy look and said, "Are you stupid or something? The Kyuubi is on its way here. The Yondaime has ordered an evacuation of the civilians while the ninja prepare to fight it." Kyuubi, huh? Thought Naruto, frowning. When Naruto saw the previous figure on the roof across from him, he tensed. The figure crossed their arms and said, "What will you do, Shredder?" In a robotic voice before disappearing into smoke. "What will I do? What the hell do you mean what will I do, and who the fuck was that?" Naruto scowled as he heard a roar. "What the hell do I really have to live for anyways?" Naruto thought as he was covered in smoke and revealed himself in his armor before he took off running by rooftop toward the walls. "Even if I got the time scepter back, I don't have anyone for me anymore. Nobody could replace Shadow. Maybe it would be best that I never met her, and then she would have lived. The only way that can happen is if my father was in my life." Using chakra, Naruto leapt up the walls and landed on the wall's tower as hundreds of shinobi and kunoichi turned to stare at the newcomer. He then turned to face them with his red eyes and exclaimed, "What the fuck are you looking at?" As a number of men gazed at him, one wearing a goat-shaped Anbu mask exclaimed, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" The Shredder said, "I am here to take on the Kyuubi and you can call me the Shredder." He then turned to face the Kyuubi again, but before he could do so, 2 puffs of smoke appeared next to him. The Shredder then held out his hands to the side and started to gather chakra in them, making everyone stare at him as if he were crazy. The 2-foot soldiers then started to assist in gathering the chakra in his hands. Several people gasped when they saw what appeared to be the Rasengan appear in the Shredder's hands, but what shocked them even more was when it started to change and form into a 3-foot-wide disc of rotating chakra. The screeching sound caused some of the Inuzuka to cover their ears as the Shredder leapt into the air and spun quickly, throwing the 2 chakra disc in his hands at the Kyuubi, who was still almost a mile away. As both discs expanded in size after being thrown from 3 feet wide to 21 feet wide, everyone's eyes widened. When Kyuubi saw them approaching, he leapt aside, but what really startled everyone was when Shredder chuckled, made 20 hand signals, and declared, "Shredder Zone no Jutsu." Kyuubi believed he was safe after jumping away, but no one could see what happened when the entire area was covered in dust. The 2 enormous discs of chakra exploded from where they had passed. The Kyuubi, who was lying on its side, roared as he stood up, but everyone could see that his right side was severely wounded. With billions of cuts across his side and right side legs, the smoke started to clear, and everyone went wide-eyed as everything within a half-mile of each disc had been reduced to sawdust. Shredder put his hands together and said, "See that? If it bleeds it can be killed, and I have made it bleed." As the smoke cleared, 1,000 foot soldiers appeared, and Shredder yelled, "Foot soldiers attack." As the Kyuubi started to heal, the foot soldier dashed down the wall and started to make his way through the trees. When the foot soldiers arrived, they circled the Kyuubi and started acting like one unit while going through Kamitachi no Jutsu's hand signs. When they released it, the Konoha defenders noticed that the Kyuubi was wedged in a tornado that was slicing him. Shredder took out a lighter and started to gather chakra in his hand once more. Holding a 3-foot disc, he then ignited the wind chakra in the disc, leapt into the air, and threw it at the Kyuubi as before. The disc was about 20 feet wide, but it was on fire, and when it hit the tornado, the entire tornado exploded. Shredder charged off the walls as soon as he touched down and started to make his way toward the Kyuubi in the forest. The Yondaime Hokage then showed up holding a baby and asked, "What's going on?" Everyone looked at him and a dog disguise said, "Minato-sensei, you're not going to believe this, but this guy in silver armor who calls himself the Shredder just appeared and he created. Well, if I didn't know better I would swear it was your Rasengan, but it had wind chakra in it. He created 2 of them and threw it at the Kyuubi and wounded it before he literally created over a 1,000 kg bunshin he called foot soldiers and sent them to attack the Kyuubi and created a tornado of wind trapping the Kyuubi in it, and then he used a lighter and created another of those wind Rasengans things and set it on fire before throwing it at the Kyuubi, and when it exploded meeting the tornado it must have really hurt the Kyuubi, but the Shredder took off running toward the Kyuubi. Why do you have a baby with you?" Before he could say anything, Minato saw Kushina leaning on a figure dressed in black. The figure said, "Forgive me, Hokage-sama, but some rude assassins just tried to poison your wife, but I killed them. Have any of you seen a man in silver armor around here?" Minato scowled. Another explosion occurred right then, and everyone saw that the Kyuubi was on 3 feet with the 4th one in front missing. The figure said, "Let me guess, that's him," and then dropped Kushina and ran in the direction of the Kyuubi. With haste, Minato approached Kushina's side and asked, "Are you alright?" "Don't do it, Minato. Danzo wants our son to be a weapon, please." Kushina, who was pale, nodded. "Kakashi, I order you to take Kushina to the Hokage Tower along with our child and defend them with your life. The rest of you come with me." Minato scowled as he handed Kushina the baby Naruto before leaping off the walls and sprinting toward the forest. Several eyes widened as they heard the word, "son." The Shredder was leaning on a guandao and appeared to be panting when the figure in black arrived at the location of the Kyuubi. He said, "You ask what I'm going to do, go out with a bang." As he stood up and charged, the Kyuubi, who was staring at the Shredder with some fear as his front leg was starting to grow back, leapt back, but he was unprepared for the leg that was still missing. The Shredder leapt into the air, gathered chakra in his guandao, and descended on the Kyuubi's back right leg, slicing into it and cutting it off with wind chakra before a foot soldier appeared at the severed leg and exploded, burning the exposed skin. When the Yondaime showed up with the Konoha nins, who all appeared shocked, the Kyuubi screamed as they tried to flee the area. Everyone was staring at the black-clad figure who had leapt into the air with 2 scrolls encircling him when a shout of, "Twin Shadow Dragons!" Hundreds of weapons then started to emerge from the scrolls and were hurled at the Kyuubi, but each one exploded when it struck, causing the Kyuubi to yell, "Damn you humans!" Following the explosion of what appeared to be thousands of weapons, the figure fell to the ground, turned to face the Shredder, and uttered the words, "Top that." Shredder replied, "All right, I will." Shredder Guandoa vanished in a cloud of smoke, and he opened 2 metal-handled nunchucks and started spinning them. The chucks were coated in chakra, and he charged at the Kyuubi who was attempting to flee. He leapt on the Kyuubi side and started slamming the chucks into the Kyuubi tails, causing cuts to appear each time. Soon after, the first tail hit the ground, and then more and more until all 9 fell to the ground, and a number of foot soldiers appeared where the Shredder was panting, replacing him with themselves before they exploded. After flashing through some hand signs and boulders the size of basketballs began to form on the ground, the black figure said, "Oh yeah, top this shadow bombs." Then, it launched at Kyuubi, who had about half of his front leg regrown, and slammed into his body. What shocked everyone, though, was that when they hit, they exploded. As he gazed at the figure, Shredder's eyes widened and he thought, "It can't be." Then, he saw the Kyuubi's head, and he instantly called forth his guandoa, screaming, "Look out!" He charged all of his chakra and threw the guandoa. The Kyuubi who lunged at the black figure was unprepared for the guandoa and the accompanying wind chakra, which sliced right through the Kyuubi's neck. Everyone present was astounded to see 2 individuals engaged in combat with the Demon King. When Shredder started to sway and then start to fall toward the ground, the shocked figure in black turned and hurried over to assist in lowering him to the ground. Minato turned to face the Kyuubi and said, "Everyone else. The Kyuubi is still alive, it seems, since I can see the body starting to HEA, but it is severely weakened." He then turned to face the Kyuubi's head and followed the Kwandoa's path before saying, "Send out a search team, find that Kwandoa." The black figure, who had the Shredder in their lap, said, "The heart kill its heart." According to Minato, "You heard her, was it?" After removing the mask, the figure revealed a 16-year-old adolescent girl with brown eyes and hair. "If this person doesn't look like this, don't be angry with me. I couldn't find any photos of her." Minato noticed her eyes widening and thought, "So young, and wasn't the Shredder the name of the guy those turtles fought?" Then replied, "You heard her. While it's we can see if we can get to his heart and kill it once and for all." As she pondered, "Please let this kill it, because if not, then I will have to seal it away in my sun." The ninja started attacking the Kyuubi's body as it was healing, but they were able to inflict more damage by focusing on his front chest, and they quickly arrived at the Kyuubi's heart using jutsu and exploding tags. As he and the other ninjas started to flashy through hand signs, Minato said, "Okay everyone, use your most powerful jutsu on the heart." Before long, the heart was being blasted by fire, wind, earth, and a little water. After 10 minutes, everyone was staring at the Kyuubi's now burned interior while Minato yelled, "Don't stop." The boss Toad went wide-eyed upon seeing the body of the Kyuubi, and Minato said, "Gambunta, I don't know if we have actually succeeded where others failed, and I am faced with two possibilities. Either seal it away into my newborn son, or ask if you would take it to the Toad Mountain and put the water of the Toad Pool on it. I believe that it might just be able to turn him to stone like all those who failed the sage arts." Minato bit his thumb and started flashing through hand signs, saying, "Kachiyose no Jutsu." Gambunta replied, "Very well Minato, but how were you able to defeat the Kyuubi?" According to Minato, "Apparently we have those two there to thank, though it appears it used up all their chakra." Gambunta replied, "Come summon me again sometime, as I would like to meet those two." Gambunta seized the Kyuubi's body and vanished in a cloud of smoke as Minato nodded. Minato thought, "What a night, and what will I do with you two?" and shook his head. When Naruto woke up, he was in a white room. He blinked as a stench hit him, thinking, "Hospital, what the hell?" He looked to see that his arms were bound with seals and tied to the rails. When Naruto looked around the room, he scowled, tried to call forth his armor, and thought, "Fuck, they took it off me." His eyes widened when he noticed the other figure, and he muttered, "Shadow. Okay. Let's see, armor gone. Chakra gone. Hospital beds all have the same flaw," thought Naruto, scowling as he attempted to use his chakra but was unable to do so. They are shipped in pieces and assembled at the hospital. Knowing where the assembly parts are makes it easy to disassemble, Naruto thought as he swiftly removed his arms from the now loose bandage as the bed's rails came loose. He got out of bed, scowled because he was still unable to feel his chakra, and then he tensed up before grabbing the desk lamp and blocking a blow to his back. He then wrapped the power cord around the person's wrist to stop them from striking him, and then Naruto sent a knee strike that dislocated it and slid around, choking the back of the mask-wearing person's neck as they fell to the ground. With a feeble tone, a female voice said, 11 seconds, you've gotten slower." With a terrified expression, Naruto asked Shadow, "Is it really you?" By biting her lip, Shadow said, "I should be asking you that you died." With a bewildered expression, Naruto declared, "I didn't die, April, Casey, and you all perished." Shadow looked at her and said, "Why don't you untie me and we can get out of her and talk, because I got a feeling this is going to get confusing." "Shit, no cloths here, sneaky bitch," Naruto said, biting his lip and nodding. As he swiftly untied her and went to the closet, he turned to see Shadow wearing the clothes of the man he had knocked out. Shadow protruded her tongue and threw the mask and cloak to Naruto, who put them on and then inquired, "Can you use chakra?" After a brief period of silence, Shadow said, "No, I suppose they closed it off. Let's grab a bite to eat." She grabbed the bed linens, tied them together, and threw one end out the window while tying the other to a bed. "I got this guy's wallet," she said. Naruto went to the window beneath them, entered the hospital room of a man who was unconscious, and then went to the closet, took out a shirt and a pair of pants, and put them on. After a few minutes, Shadow and Naruto left through the front door, Shadow no longer wearing the mask or cloak. They walked in silence to the park and sat down after stopping at a small ice cream stand after walking a few blocks. "So," said Naruto. "You first," said Shadow. "I wish I knew what you knew so I knew where to start," Naruto sighed. "You said we were dead, start there," said Shadow. "I was in the back seat with you by my side, and we were going to go into town to celebrate your birthday. Naruto stated when he started the car. It exploded while April and Casey were in the front. If it weren't for that, I would have died from severe burns. However, none of you three made it. Shadow said, car bomb, right? Mobster who mom reported on. Shadow asked, what happened after that? As Naruto nodded. I met my birth father. He sealed himself in me as well, and he trained me in my mind while I was in the hospital for several months in a coma. Naruto stated when I awoke, I discovered that the guilty party had been found not guilty. I kind of turned into the Shredder totally. According to Shadow, so you killed then? I've killed almost 500 people in my life, Naruto declared, but they were all criminals. However, I did exact revenge on you. What about Rin? What happened with her? Shadow asked, biting her lip. She tried to talk me into leaving. I became public enemy number 1 and had the police, military, and the mob after me, Naruto said, glancing up at the sky. As she was leaving, the cops attacked the place I was at and she suffered a head injury. She was in a coma when I brought her to the hospital, but her condition wasn't good. She asked me to begin the life you and I had dreamed about, so I complied and returned to Konoha. That's the missing piece of the puzzle, Shadow said. Rin woke up, but everyone was gone. You, me, my parents, and the turtles. She visited the turtles' lair and discovered an old newspaper article discussing the bombing and our deaths. She also found out that the Shredder had returned and that you had vanished from the hospital, never to be seen again. She believed that the turtles perished in front of the Shredder. In an attempt to stop the bombing, she used the time scepter to go back in time. She was able to save Mom, Dad, and me, but you went to the car before us and I assume you wanted the radio or air on. I was running to stop you when you started the car, and it exploded. According to your story, the person who did it got off, but he never left the courthouse after they found me not guilty. I unlocked my weapons and killed him as he turned. My life was over, so my parents persuaded me to return and begin the life we had always imagined, and I agreed. I changed my name to honor you after I returned Tenten. According to Naruto, October 10th, Tenten said with a nod, so what now? Naruto replied, I don't know. Why did you bring us back to this timeline? Tenten replied, because it's the only place I knew you hadn't fucked the village yet. Why did you kill the Uchiha clan? I only killed those with the Sharingan because they were preparing to rebel against the village. Naruto stated Makoto and her son Itachi were Sandame's spies, so I killed them to prevent her son from turning into a criminal Danzo, then ruined everything by killing the others and, I believe, forcing Itachi to escape. As Tenten put it, and the whole, bow down and kiss my ass thing. Shrugging, Naruto remarked, I don't take shit off anyone. According to Tenten, so you haven't changed a bit, huh? Naruto looked at him and replied, no, I changed a lot. I'm darker now. I threatened to kill Master Splinter and the turtles if they tried to stop me. I didn't just kill those criminals, I massacred them. I'm not so pure myself anymore. I've killed 40 or 50, Tenten said, casting a downward glance in order to get enough money to live on. When I returned, I engaged in some bounty hunting. I pretended to be a typical girl. Oh well, actually, I pretended to be a typical girl of our time. I would go after bounties to get money to survive until I started getting high again, but I detest these fucking fangirls they have now. To which Naruto replied, I see. How long have you been back? According to Tenten, 2 maybe 3 years. You. According to Naruto, less than a month. When 6 Anbu squads surrounded them, Tenten glared at him and tensed, just like Naruto. Hold it, said one wearing a dog mask, you must accompany us. Tenten shrugged when Naruto looked at him, and then a smoke bomb detonated. After 30 seconds, all 6 Anbu squads were unconscious and on the ground. After putting a sword on his back and fastening a few weapon holsters to his leg, Naruto remarked, so I see you still as good as ever, as the smoke cleared. Tenten was acting similarly, but she added 2 swords and remarked, same to you as well. With the appearance of 40 root Anbu, Naruto exclaimed, oh goody, deadman walking. 21, Tenten said. Naruto uttered the words, you're on. The sounds of men screaming and dying could be heard as both threw smoke bombs onto the ground. Naruto and Tenten both scowled as the smoke cleared, and they both said, Tai. Tenten said, calm down, your men are just knocked out. As Minato arrived and tensed upon seeing all the dead ninja but Root are no longer alive, she looked at Naruto and said, how's the wife and child? You're adorable. A water balloon, a rubber ball, and an air balloon, Naruto uttered, his cheeks flushed a little. Who are you and how do you know that? Minato asked, his eyes widening. Not until you unseal our chakra, Naruto said, taking a quick look around. Until that time comes, we will continue to humiliate your ninja. After scowling, Minato remarked, very well, come to my office. As they vanished in smoke clouds, Tenten and Naruto both said, meet you there. As he left for his office, Minato appeared appalled and exclaimed, "What the hell?" While sitting in Minato's office with Naruto, Tenten remarked, "You know, I wonder how long it will take before he puts the pieces together." Naruto replied, "I wonder how long it will take for him to realize we just beat all those guys without chakra." They both started giggling, and Naruto exclaimed, "God, I missed you." According to Tenten, "Me too, or have you moved on?" "No," Naruto said, shaking his head, "no one could ever take your place. You are my true love, my first love, and the only love I will ever have." Tenten said, "Well, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. You were supposed to have multiple wives, remember?" Grinning as a tiny tear escaped and was swiftly wiped away. "But nobody knows that now. How about you?" said Naruto, scowling. "Remember how I said I hate those fangirls?" Tenten said, biting her lip. "The reason is that I had to pretend to like the Academy's Rookie of the Year in order to make any friends even if you were dead. I felt like I was betraying you every time I pretended to like him." Tenten retorted, "You say one word about fate and I'll shove a sigh up your ass," while Naruto approached and embraced her, saying, "This was hard on both of us, but a punch to the stomach silenced him. I had to pretend to like that damn ass, but it would not stop talking about fate, this and that are fates. I can't count the number of times I almost walked up behind him and broke his neck." "It appears that you are still my shadow," Naruto remarked with a laugh, "always taking my lead." After giving it some thought, Tenten realized he was correct and burst out laughing. When Minato arrived, he saw Naruto hugging Tenten, looking happy, and Tenten laughing. "How did you do that?" Minato asked, clearing his throat as he shut the door. "How did you two get here before me and vanish like that when your chakra is sealed off?" Shrugging, Naruto remarked, "We are just that damn good." "Who are you?" Minato asked with a frown. "You may call me the Shredder," Naruto remarked. "The Shredder, huh? And where's Raphael?" Minato asked. With a playful expression, Tenten remarked, "The turtles, huh?" Minato's eyes widened slightly and said, "Can we just quit beating around the bush, because right now I got the fallout from you killing several of my ninja, as well as how the two of you defeated the Kyuubi like that. And don't forget saving your wives' lives," Tenten said. "According to Minato, I have no proof my wife's life was ever in trouble." "What did you do?" snorted Naruto. I assumed she passed away due to complications following delivery." "So did I. Which is why I went to the hospital, since Rin-sensei trained me and claimed I would surpass even Tsunade in skills someday," Tenten said, glancing at Naruto. "I believe that I could alter history sufficiently if I went to the hospital too." Naruto replied, "To make it where we never met so you wouldn't have to watch me die." "That's why you went Shredder on Kyuubi, isn't it?" Tenten said, blinking. Naruto replied, "Well, I didn't think I had anything left to live for." Tenten replied, "I thought you were some alter-dimensional evil, Naruto." With a tone of defiance, Naruto asked, "How do you know I'm not?" "You're still alive, aren't you?" Tenten asked. "It's a thing for women." With his arms crossed, Naruto sulked and uttered, "Woman, can any man ever understand them?" "Can we return to the topic at hand?" Minato asked, clearing his throat. "Really, who are you two?" "You're a blonde idiot. Put the pieces together already," Tenten said, slapping her forehead. "Shortly after discussing your wife and child, I remarked that the big lug here was adorable. We're talking about the turtles, and you should know how they got here. After I mentioned that your former pupil Rin trained me, you should be able to begin piecing things together because you know what happened to her. You can see the whiskers on his face, which is a big clue we didn't initially arrive." "Naruto," Minato said, his eyes widening and turning pale as he turned to face Naruto. "Now that I'm not the Shredder, I prefer to go by Naru," Naruto remarked. "Nami Naru. That's the nickname I gave him because I got tired of saying his entire name," Tenten thought, blushing. Minato replied, "Naru, I don't know what to say. Why Just drop it," Naru said. "I'll briefly outline my life for you. Hell, the first 6 years of my life, when the people of Konoha disregarded your last request, they tortured, starved, and beat me in every manner they could. I would have probably bled to death from my wounds if Raph-sensei hadn't discovered me in the woods. I spent the next 7 years of my life content because I had people who loved and cared for me, including a girl I pretended to, who is still alive, thanks to the Sandame's agreement to send me to a different time period where Rin was. It's genetic. Blondes are stupid," Tenten stated. "Indeed," Naru remarked. "After that, something happened that I would rather not discuss, and I ended up going back in time to the day of the Kyuubi attack." Tenten here became mixed up in the process. Short, simple, and straight to the point without giving too much information, Tenten stated. "Well done." "Thanks," Naru said with a smile that was half amused. Minato said, "I swear I think you found a girl just like your mother." "Chakra," said Naru. Ring any bells, seal? What about the Kyuubi inside you? Minato asked. Dead, said Naru. That's what happens when you get blown up and have to heal from third-degree burns on most of your body. With a frown, Minato remarked, I see. What are your plans now? Naru was asking. Are you going to take these seals' office or do I have to kick your ass? With a smile of amusement, Minato said, think you can. You're making the same mistake that the 500 men I've already killed and all those nin I've already killed or knocked out made. Naru remarked. Remember that we also prevented something you were willing to risk your life and your son's life to prevent. Remembering that, Minato became serious and sobered up, saying, right, are you planning any kind of threat to the village? Tenten chuckled and remarked, we were about 15 years in the future when we arrived here, and the Fire Lord had just given Naru total authority over the village and made him king of Konoha to get him ready for his role as the next Fire Lord. Don't you think he could have already threatened the village if that was his intention? Then why did you come back in time if you were king of Konoha? Minato scowled. Tenten blushed and turned away when Naru turned to face her. To cut a long story short, I died in one timeline, and Naru died when Rin went back to alter history, she said. In both timelines, we returned to Konoha to live the life we had originally planned. We were unaware of each other's existence until the day Naru was crowned king, when I saw him here as the Shredder. Since I had been taught that the Shredder was evil, I assumed that Naru was an evil alter-dimensional version of himself. I went to the location where the Time Scepter was hidden and made the decision to end my own suffering by altering history and preventing his mother's death. When Naru entered, he attempted to take the scepter away from me without knowing who I was. When we returned, I made fun of him by asking, what will you do to divert your attention while I went to save his mother? The rest is history. Minato replied, I see. Then why haven't you faded away or ceased to exist? According to Naru, who knows an instruction manual isn't exactly included with time travel. After giving it some consideration, Minato remarked, I guess you're right, but what are you planning now? What do you think? Naru asked, glancing at Tenten. I can't go back to my own time. I'm a wanted criminal for murdering the guy who killed you, Tenten shrugged. Same here, Naru said. Since my parents are still living and the Sandaime is not in charge, there is no future for us. We wish to begin a life here together. After giving it some thought, Tenten replied, yes, our goal was to begin a life together. I suppose it doesn't really matter where or when anymore. After glancing at Minato, Naru asked, so you have any objections of us staying here? What are you going to do? Minato asked. How about allowing Tenten and I to recreate the foot? Said Naru, grinning. To strengthen this village, we could form a group akin to your Anbu, instruct them on how to be a ninkie. After a few minutes of contemplation, Minato asked, and what do you plan to do to explain your history? Naru responded, let's just tell people that I am a descendant of yours and this is my fiancé, and we were trying to recreate the Hiraishin and wound up in this time by mistake and don't know how to get back to our time or how far in time we went. After giving it some thought, Minato remarked, very well, it seems like a smart idea. All I need to do now is inform your mother and the council, but how should I go about telling them about the ninja you killed? Naru responded, since we know some of the future, we can just tell them that we knew Danzo and the Root were responsible for the Uchiha massacre and experimenting on children. Tenten replied, hell, we could change Fate Boy's tune and warn about the Hyuga Cloud incident also, when the Cloud tried to kidnap the heiress Hinata of the Hyuga clan in a year or two. Naru responded, yeah, we know just enough that the longer we are here the easier it will be to explain things we don't know as history changing. It's unexpected, but that makes a lot of sense, Minato remarked. All we need to do, I suppose, is get you settled in and decide when to inform your mother that she will be a grandmother years sooner than she had anticipated. Tenten, flushed, said, what about you, Grandpa? Naru replied, so this is how our legacy begins. Sounds like fun.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.